got the internationally recognised sign of no signal. Everyone's sort of walking around like that to send that text.
Don't use this in the
No, we'll use it for the guys. It's really good. You know, any customer anywhere in the UK who's considering trying to boost that or amplify that phone coverage internally, let us know. We'll always come out and do a completely free of charge quote and survey for them.
Hello and welcome to this Fireside chat hosted by UK Connect. Today I'm thrilled to have some special guests with me from Nextivity and Frequency Telecom, who are industry pioneers when it comes to solutions to boost mobile coverage. Our focus for this Fireside chat is understanding more about in-building mobile coverage, what it is, its key features and benefits. So before we kick off, let's introduce ourselves. So I'm Lauren and I'm part of the account management team here at UK Connect, and I'm joined today with Colin and Dave and PJ. So I'll let you introduce yourselves.
Yeah, no worries. Cheers, Lauren. Thank you. Yes, I'm PJ Farr, the Managing Director here at UK Connect, and yeah, it's really great to have the guys in from Nextivity and Frequency Telecom.
Hi, my name is Dave Stevens and I head up Western Europe sales at Nextivity.
And I'm Colin Giles, Senior Account Manager at Frequency. Frequency are one of the master distributors of Nextivity Cell-Fi products in the UK and Ireland.
So to kick off, PJ, why don't you start by telling us a little bit more about in-building mobile coverage and why is it crucial for businesses?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a huge growth in this area, hence why we're here today. In-building mobile coverage, specifically is exactly what it is. It's the ability to get mobile phone signal all the way up to 5G from the four major operators into where you need it most. Typically that could be used for simple things like making a phone call, but it could be right through to other things such as, I don't know, the horrible moment where you need to get your MFA token through on a text message and you've got to go outside the building to get it, then come back in all within time because you've got no coverage. Through to other things we'll talk about later, such as electric car charging, kiosks, those types of things that all require mobile phone coverage. And the reason why I think it's important to talk about this now is because there's a lot of focus right now on modern methods of building. So we're creating effectively Faraday cages where we work, where we've got modern building methods being used, insulation being used, and what that's doing is basically making it much more difficult for mobile phone frequencies to get into where we need it most. And today we're going to talk about the solution that solves that problem.
If I can just add to what PJ's just said, I think fundamentally you've nailed it, PJ. What we're about is bringing the network into the building. So we've all experienced frustrations in not being able to make a phone call, send a text message, use mobile data within a building. And with our solutions, we're obviously bringing that network into the building. So there's lots of scenarios whereby that occurs. There's hard to reach areas like basements, car parks, etc., which we'll go into a little more detail today. But fundamentally, that's pretty much what we're doing.
Yeah, again, similar lines. I mean, there are, I think, statistics out there which suggest that 80% of mobile phone usage is in a building. So it's fine when you're outside and there's clear line of sight to the equipment that the phones or devices are connecting to, and your mobile phone or your apps can work fine. But there's a lot of frustration when you move into a building, whether it be your home or your place of work, and you suddenly can't use your devices to communicate with the people you need to speak to. And we fully understand the frustration that gives. And as I say, with more than 80% of people in a building using their mobile phones, we look to our solutions help resolve that and improve connectivity for those in the buildings.
It is really frustrating that you've got the internationally recognised sign of no signal. Everyone's sort of walking around like that to send that text. We had this recently of Hannah, our account manager, quite literally hanging out of a window to make a phone
that's
call.
Right, yeah, or people having to go downstairs. Or,
it's super
outside,
frustrating.
Yeah, especially in construction, I think we see it where they're in site cabins, aren't they?
Well,
So
those site
they're
cabins, they are
literally
shipping containers.
They're Faraday cages.
Quite literally a Faraday cage, purpose built. And in the summer months, it's not too bad because they'll often have the door open, so the coverage comes in. But in the winter months, the double stack containers we've seen, you've got a site manager on the gantry trying to make a phone call.
In a blizzard.
And it's it's raining, the wind's shafted in. And frankly, it's just not good enough, really, if I'm honest. But I could completely get the frustration.
So I think that's a really good overview as to what in-building mobile coverage is and maybe some relatable challenges there. But I'm keen to delve in a little bit deeper as to what are the key components and what really sets the UK Connect and Cell-Fi solution apart in this critical space.
So the solution we basically developed and we're pioneering is we've created a solution which keeps people connected fundamentally. And the way we do that is we actually leverage the huge amount of investment the mobile operators have made in their network. So we've talked about earlier where we've got a signal outside, which is booming, and you get into a building and you can't actually make your phone call, send your text message, or use mobile data. And what we do is we have a very clear portfolio of products which basically enable that scenario to sort of become 5 bars within the building. And the way we do that is we have an antenna on the roof, generally speaking. It can be in a window, but it's generally on the roof. And that signal is basically picked up by that antenna, fed through to our technology. All our products are based on our IntelliBoost chipset. It's a proprietary piece of technology that we've built in-house. And what that solution does is it takes the signal from outside and actually rebroadcasts it into the building. And the way we do that is through antennas that we deploy within the building. So depending on the product category we're working with, we could have a single antenna which gives coverage in maybe a residential property or in some small offices, or we have multiple antennas we can deploy through different ways of a wide infrastructure. But yeah, we can touch on that a little bit more detail later on.
I had a small point if I can as well on that, which was just from a sort of layman's point of view, effectively, and I know it's a lot more complex than that with your proprietary technology, but you're amplifying.
Yes.
You're taking what is outside.
Yeah.
Pulling it through like a breaking through that Faraday cage and then amplifying it.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes we hear the word repeaters, and we don't actually just repeat, we boost as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And IntelliBoost, the way that works is it looks at all the signals we can see. So it could be on multiple operators, it could be for multiple technologies, and we boost them all independently. So we don't blindly boost everything and just blast the building. It's all very, very technical. It basically gives you a very good coverage across the whole building.
Brilliant.
And I'm keen to know, because we've talked about if you're inside, say, a site cabin and the mobile phone signal is really good outside and you're bringing that external mobile phone signal internal, how do you address the challenge if you're in a completely remote area? Both UK Connect and Nextivity.
Yeah, so we do a lot of work with sort of water treatment works where you've got lone workers, which is really important from a health and safety perspective. We've got car parks, underground car parks. We've talked about EV charging, etc. But if you're in a very remote area, as long as we can see a signal, and I usually use the terminology of if you can see 1 bar, we can amplify it, we can boost it. If there's no signal at all, then we can't invent a signal. So what we'll do is you'll get 5 bars indoors, wherever you are, with our technology. So it's not specific to where it is. It's just we need to be able to see a signal. And generally speaking, the mobile operators are very good at providing comprehensive coverage across the country. It's just we push the limits for the way we build buildings, and we create basements and the like. So yeah, the lone worker side of things is really important to us, and remote locations are really important and problems we can fix with our technology.
In terms of being remote, obviously when the teams go out to site, they'll measure the signal, and at that point, depending on how strong or how good the signal is, they'll decide on what type of antenna to use. So if the signal is particularly weak, they'll maybe use a more directional antenna that can pick up signal from several kilometres away. Obviously, if we're deploying in a more urban area where the signal outside is already there, we may not need the same type of antenna. So just depending on the type of antenna, or as talked about the donor antenna, we have a range. So depending what's needed based on the out signal, we can deploy.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point where we're outdoors and we may just have 1 bar, or it may be 1 bar in or out. As Colin said, we've got antennas with different gains. So it's not just like the gain you have in your mobile phone. We've got quite advanced technology where we can pick up the sniff of a signal, if you like, and bring that indoors, and we can turn that 1 bar into 5 bars.
And that's what I was going to say from a UK Connect point of view. Where do we add that value? So we've got, we've selected a fantastic manufacturer and a great partner in Frequency, who are really there to make sure that equipment is not just to us on time, but it's a value add. It's the support you guys give us in terms of training and certifications. And the bit UK Connect adds over the top of this already great product is those professional services. So, our job in all this is to say to the customers, what do you require? And it could be, I just want to use my corporate network, Vodafone, that's quite a common request, or EE, for example. Or actually, I want all 4 mobile networks. I'm not sure if I've got any coverage. I don't think there's any coverage at all, in fact, where I operate. Yeah. We always say to them, let us come and do a physical on-site survey. So we'll use one of the Nextivity's own products, actually, your spectrum analyzer. So we'll take a qualified RF engineer, we'll go to that site. They'll conduct a full spectrum analysis. And then we can give that customer complete confidence that when we come back to fit your service, you're going to get, these are the networks you're going to get, these are the types of speeds you should get. So I'd always say, and as part of the offer running right now anyway, is that any customer anywhere in the UK who's considering trying to boost that or amplify that phone coverage internally, let us know. We'll always come out and do a completely free of charge quote and survey for them. And then they can make that informed choice as to whether that's the sort of thing they want to do, or if that's the right solution for them.
Yeah. In addition, what UK Connect can do is when you come out, you can design a solution. So they can be tailored to the actual building itself. So whether it's just a single-story building or a multi-story hotel or hospital, you can design and tailor the in-building coverage to the exact areas that the customers need.
And you touched on quite a good point there about different mobile phone coverage carriers. I'm keen to know then, how does an in-building mobile coverage solution, how does that involve collaboration with those telecom providers, and how does UK Connect and Nextivity work with them to really enhance the reach and reliability of indoor coverage?
Yeah, it's a really good question actually. Nextivity, we work with over 200 mobile operators across the world, and we're in over 100 countries, and we collaborate with MNOs. So different parts of the world are different with regards to regulation. I'm sure we'll touch on regulation later. Within the UK, we have a license exemption. As I said, we'll touch on that later. With regards to how we can deploy our technology. We don't need to get the blessing from the operators. But what we do is we go for certification and approval from the mobile operators. So we work very closely with the operators as we launch new products. We put our products through Ofcom sort of certification as well. So there's a set of regulations and specifications that we need to adhere to with regards to license exemption. So as we launch new products, we take them through Ofcom in the UK specifically. But yeah, the operators are really important to us. I look after the relationships with both end users, integrators like yourselves, distributors like Frequency Telecom, and also mobile network operators. So mobile network operators are instrumental to what we do. Without the network, we don't have a product.
In addition, the boosters, each of the boosters are programmed to that network. So all we are doing effectively from the mobile is picking up all of the channels and all of the signal that's available that carries all the voice and data services into the building. So by programming it to each of the networks, we're picking up the purest parts of the signal.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to say from a professional services point of view. You can, it's kind of, we're touching on 2 points, which I know we'll come to in a bit around regulation, but there are alternative products out there which aren't approved products. And with the professional service element, no 4G, 5G or 3G, I know it's going away, but is the same. And with a 4G signal, you've got a range of different bands and a range of different frequencies. So you might think, I've got no 4G here, but that might be because your mobile phone can't pick up that specific frequency. And it may be that we need to tune your Nextivity solution to work on the specific frequencies that are available at the time. And so I think it's important to know that professional installation element, it's an investment made that's going to transform your experience. And our job, is to represent this brand really well as well. And so what Nextivity does, which I think is fantastic, is they make sure that we go through a rigorous process. So we've got the enterprise installers certifications we have to adhere to. And off the back of that, we're winning major projects. We've had recently, many Ministry of Defence sites in the UK rely on Nextivity for critical communications. We've got, I think, an example in Tregantle Fort, where we've got in Cornwall, we've got walls as 6 foot thick walls, and we've got Royal Marine Commandos training in there who just want to be able to make a phone call and do basic training. So this small but very intelligent device is making a real big difference to many of our customers across the UK.
And we've talked about a couple of different examples there and a couple of different customers, but I'm keen to know, how does the solution integrate with maybe a customer's already established infrastructure? Is there something that UK Connect and Nextivity do to ensure that that's seamless?
So within the Nextivity product set, we have 3 main families. We have the Connect, we have the Go, and we have the Quattro. So they're the main sort of product categories, and they've got different sort of use cases for different types of customers. Fundamentally, the Connect and the Go solutions are based on coaxial cable, so it's completely dedicated. There's no integration with the corporate LAN, the corporate network. Now, whilst the Quattro solution uses CAT cabling to connect between the network unit and the coverage unit, that cabling is dedicated as well. So there's no real infrastructure to the corporate network. What we do very often, and Colin can touch on this a little bit more detail, is when you're putting together a building and you're running your structured cabling, you can put the structured cabling in for our technology in advance. So as long as it's all obviously been designed, that's something we can do. But fundamentally, it's all completely dedicated, it's completely separate to the corporate network.
Yeah, and if you're putting in big systems, obviously customers will obviously want that system monitored and looked after. So if there is existing infrastructure in a building, then some of that can be used from the monitoring side of point of view. It can be connected into a corporate LAN and systems being brought online and monitored. If in new builds there is existing cabling, for example, run into the building, if it's not being used for another purpose, another data service, then that existing cabling is great, whether it be structured cabling or fibre, it can be repurposed for a self-fi solution. So although, as Dave says, it's a standalone system, much of the infrastructure and the cabling that's in the building can be reused for a self-fi system.
No, well, thanks both. And I'm now really interested to know about the installations part. So PJ, can you tell me a bit more about how UK Connect install, the self-fi solution, and actually how scalable is it?
Yeah, so I think just from, if you're watching and considering this sort of solution, I think it's important to recognise that, Nextivity have built a really great product that it just lives and works. Support call-outs, we monitor these things 24/7 here in our NOC, but call-outs to this product are really low. They're only ever called out for things like change of frequencies. 5G is available now. In terms of the installation side of these things, often the challenges we face are getting approval. So if you're in a multi-storey office, you're sharing it with other tenants, sometimes we need to speak to the landlord about making use of your roof space. And we'll normally use an unintrusive, something like a non-penetrating roof mount, drop that down the lift shaft or cable shaft, and then distribute that into your office area. So there are some challenges on that, but again, our team is experienced and we'll often write all the risk assessments and method statements into your landlord for you. So we take care of most of that for you for our project management team. And then additionally, in terms of installation, it normally takes about a day to complete end-to-end, and that's with testing for an office probably similar size to this. In terms of scalability, that's probably better for these guys to answer. So yeah, probably Dave, probably you both.
Yeah, from a scalability perspective, it does depend on the product. So our lower end product, which would cover 200 square meters, is the Connect C41. That's more of a self-install residential small office type install. So you wouldn't tend to extend that. And then we've got the Go range, the G41 and the G43. So the G41 is a single operator solution. G43 can do 3 operators. And those 2 solutions, again, uses coax cables. So we have a donor antenna, coax cable to the unit, and then coax cable to a serving antenna. You can scale the G41 and the G43, so you can add additional antennas, so serving antennas. You do lose a little bit of power as you actually extend the coax cable. So if, for example, you want to shape the RF through a building, because you've got lots of concrete walls, you can do that with RF, but you're limited really with regards to what you can do with the Go if you want to go to a very large site. So the G41 and the G43, they'll cover sort of 2,000 to 3,000 square meters, so quite significant.
Still quite
areas.
impressive, isn't it? I think it's still a big space, yeah.
But then if you go to the sort of the daddy of the solutions, the Quattras, the Quatra Evo is a 2-operator solution. The Quatra 4000 is a 4-operator solution. So we've got CAT cables that connect the network unit to the coverage unit, so you can connect 6 coverage units to the network unit. So from deployment, you can do that, or you can extend it. From the coverage units, then we can run coax cables with passive antennas. So that really allows you to shape the signal. But then what you can do then is you can run multiple coverage units off multiple network units. So for every network unit, you've got 6 coverage units. But what we can do as well is if you've got a building adjacent to another building, we can run fibre from the network unit into the adjacent
massively
building.
Increases the range, obviously, as well, or distance.
Up to 2 kilometres with regards to fibre. And then we have a hub then, a fibre hub in that other building, which then we serve additional coverage units from. So it's how we can cover pretty much 20,000 square meters.
Yeah, I mean, this site we're on now is a campus site. We've got a Evo here in our office. Obviously, it's quite a newly launched system, and we'll be acting as the hub. And our resident sort of tenants around us, if you like, will now be taking advantage of the system we've invested in. So I think it's something whereby, if you are a business, you can club together. It doesn't have to be just your network. You can all share that infrastructure. Because there's no actual ongoing cost for this system as well, which I think is really important to say, unless you want to buy like an additional support package, for example.
That's a great use case, PJ, actually, because what we often do is we'll run the coax cables down from the donor antenna into the network unit. We may then cover 1 or 2 floors of a skyscraper.
Yeah.
But then we can sort of land and expand effectively.
Absolutely,
we can sort of carry on that sort of that approach in multiple areas. So yeah, it's but as I said, the Quattro will cover up to sort of 20,000 square meters. So it's a significant sort of area that you can cover.
And Colin, I've got a question now actually around, is there any other sort of applications that this sort of technology could be utilised?
Yeah, so I guess over the last 4 or 5 years, I guess the benefits of Selfie really started with giving in-building coverage for people to be able to successfully receive and make a phone call using the mobile devices. But in recent times, we've seen more devices, more applications come to the market where mobile signal, a lot of people don't necessarily realise that the mobile signal is important to that device, to that application, for it to operate as effectively or deliver the service to the end user as required. So we've seen a growth, obviously, EV chargers. You often see that being rolled out, or they are being rolled out across the UK. So where they're deployed in an underground car park and the signal isn't there, then those EV chargers won't operate as effectively. People paying for the electricity, they don't have don't have signal on their mobile phone to be able to take the electricity from the charging station. So we've seen a big increase in Selfie supporting those. Also with payment machines as well, they rely on mobile signal, so people transacting and paying for services using a payment machine. Smart meters, and new smart meters that have been rolled out, they require mobile signal as well. So lots
Even
of
hospitals. I noticed in hospitals, the hospital beds are now tracked using narrowband IoT SIMs. But often a lot of hospitals don't have coverage as well.
Well, I mean, it's basically lots of devices now with 5G coming in, and obviously the Internet of Things. Lots of devices are now needing to be connected to the internet to send and receive signal, send and receive information, and a lot of that is done over the mobile network. So it's not just the mobile phone as it might have been 5-10 years ago that could benefit from improved signal. Lots of applications now are coming online that need mobile signal.
I think my next one's really a question for Dave. We've spoken about a little bit in this Fireside chat, but around Ofcom. So in certain industries, we know that compliance with regulation is critical. And how does UK Connect and Nextivity's Selfie solution align with those regulatory requirements?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. And I was going to bring it up if you hadn't already. So Ofcom, prior to 2018, obviously that licensed spectrum that's been used by the operators is used by the operators. So as an installer, as a consumer, you couldn't basically deploy repeaters or boosters or whatever you want to call them. 2018, Ofcom loosened the regulation, basically said, look, consumers and enterprise can deploy off-air repeaters, and they're classed as license exempt. So you hear this term license exempt. And what license exempt fundamentally means is that as long as we abide by the rules Ofcom set, it was about power. Nextivity Kit is unconditionally safe. It's a very safe piece of technology. What I mean by that is we don't send any more noise or any interference back up to the macro network. That's really, really important to the operator. So Ofcom has stipulated all this in requirements. And as a result, what we've done as Nextivity is all our products comply with their regulations. And if you go onto the Ofcom website, you can see our products are on there. They've always been on there. They've been on there since this regulation came in. And as we launch new products, we are Ofcom compliant. So really, really important point. In the past, some illegal repeaters have been put in place. They cause a lot of noise and interference and upset to the network operators. So Ofcom have obviously said, right, we're going to loosen the regulation a little bit. This was like 4 or 5 years ago now. But you need to adhere to these rules. And it's really, really important. Yeah.
So I think, the operators give peace of mind, and whoever's installing it in their building, the end user has peace of mind that it's compliant and legal. Compliant, and Ofcom won't come knocking.
No, but and in all fairness, you're almost the hero if you're the IT director who brings this in, because let's be honest, a lot of our people today on their lunch breaks or whatever, they want to be able to use things like social media, things like that, for example. Like, the moment this comes in, especially for the Ministry of Defence sites, we're doing a lot of accommodation units right now where, I was in the army myself, I know exactly how this feels. You're out in the field for 2 weeks, you come back into your accommodation and there's no phone coverage. the first thing you want to do is just see what's been going on for the last few weeks and stuff, and providing that welfare type service as well that Nextivity does, which makes an absolutely massive difference. So I think for IT professionals or procurement teams looking at a solution, it's not just going to solve a big problem, it's just going to massively increase morale amongst users and satisfaction amongst either guests in hospitality or your workforce, more generally, I think.
I think one other thing to add on Ofcom. Ofcom's obviously a UK regulator. In Ireland, we've got ComReg, and it's very, very similar sort of approach. So we're open for business in Ireland as well.
Yeah.
I look after Western Europe. So Western Europe, we have different nuances and different challenges in different countries. But fundamentally, the UK is thriving because of this, obviously, license exemption and the Nextivity product portfolio that we've deployed.
No, we've seen a huge increase in that.
Yeah.
I've got one final question though, and I think we obviously as a company also provide broadband to our customers, and I'd say one of the pushback questions I get is, why don't I just turn Wi-Fi calling on?
Yeah.
So I'm keen to know, I guess, from probably PJ and everyone sat here, what...
From my point of view, I get it. Just the whole account management team get this all the time. We recommend a product and they say, well, look, let's just use Wi-Fi. And for me, there is a place for that as well. If you're already on the network, and often you can do Wi-Fi calling. I mean, I know Dave and Colin have a lot of things to talk about that in a moment. But actually, what I say from a basic point of view is, why should we have to? Why should I have to go into a restaurant or a cafe or an office and have to sign up to your Wi-Fi network just to use my phone? Gone are the days we have like a 100 meg a month allowance. Now most people have an unlimited data package on their devices. Yeah. They just want to be able to use the thing they've got that they know is secure themselves, how they would normally use it whenever and wherever they want to. They don't want to have to log onto a network. A public one is painful, you give all your details away. But also from an IT director's point of view, imagine putting in all that infrastructure for the laptop devices, but also mobile networks. And I know that's something you guys are passionate to talk about as well.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of corporate devices, they don't allow handsets to log on to a public Wi-Fi. The banking sector, a lot of the handsets are locked down.
Yeah.
So if they're out of their office and they're in a public space and they want to use their mobile phones, they can't. Their phones won't be allowed to log on to the Wi-Fi. So they need mobile connectivity for browsing and using data services or for.
Well, we touched on priority though earlier, didn't we? It was an important point.
I think Wi-Fi obviously is that hurdle of actually getting onto the Wi-Fi network, so signing up, and people are reluctant to do that. Cellular is inherently much safer than Wi-Fi. So when we talk about two-factor authentication, that when you're on cellular, when you're on your 3G, 4G, 2G network, that's coming back from your network. If it's going through Wi-Fi, it's not as secure. You get people spoofing Wi-Fi networks, etc. The other key point actually as well is, if you use Wi-Fi calling and then you walk out of a building, you're then going to be switching to the cellular network, and there's no way of handover.
You just lose the call.
Handing over from Wi-Fi to cellular and vice versa. The beauty of Nextivity is we are bringing that network internally, so there's no worry about handovering. We're actually on the same macro network. So the seamless, you get in the car, you drive into underground car park, you get out of the car, get into the lift, go to your office. That's all seamless. The handover, if you do that in Wi-Fi, then you've obviously got to re-establish that connection. So, that's really important. Yeah. And there is a place for Wi-Fi calling. Absolutely.
Of course, yeah. I love that concept. From the bed to your desk, you're connected throughout. I think I've been in it before where you're stuck on a you're waiting to get a doctor's appointment or something. You're stuck on hold, and you step outside because you've been on hold for so long, and then the call goes now. It's just inconveniences, and guess who has to deal with it? Often, and we have it in our place. It's the service desk. Yeah. The service desk of those organisations are dealing with complaints about things they weren't dealing with 5 years ago, because everything is now on the mobile, and we're moving mobile first. So why don't we put in the things that are going to help solve those cool challenges?
Yeah, I think that answered my question. So thanks all. But no, thank you so much, and I really lots of thanks to both Dave and Colin and PJ for joining us today. And I hope you found it really insightful, because I definitely did. But if you or your business is looking for more information about in-building mobile coverage solutions, then head over to ukconnect.com.